All right, Hunter Biden guilty, but so what? All right, so what? Look, you think this is justice? This is yet another scheme to help and protect Democrats. It is another play to help Joe Biden get reelected. I don't know what they owe this guy, but what happened today is weird. All right, totally. There are so many things you could charge Hunter Biden with, but this gun thing, you know what he was convicted of, right? Let me see that form. He said no when they asked him, are you addicted to drugs? That's it. That's what he was convicted of. So if he put yes instead of no, well, there would have been no crime. He wouldn't have been charged. Is that why they spent all this money? Is that why they went through all this trouble, right? A big trial? No. A big part of this was to legitimize in their mind, and they think in our mind, oh, this legitimizes the case against Trump, right? A Democrat was prosecuted, a prominent Democrat. That means everything that's happening to President Trump and his recent conviction is somehow valid? No, it's not. Absolutely not. But that's what happened. I know it. Now, these are the prosecutors who brought the case against Hunter Biden. I call them henchmen, Joe Biden's henchmen. You can also call them, I don't know, maybe Joe Biden's deputy campaign managers, because these are the same guys who wanted Joe Biden, his son, to go free. Remember? All the way back in August, Hunter Biden shows up in court, and there's this crazy convoluted plea deal that will keep Hunter Biden out of trouble, basically, for the rest of his life. The judge was like, what the heck is this all about? She would have none of it. They were exposed. So they had to kind of go back to the drawing board and prosecute Hunter. But that was a really fun moment. Do you remember?
We come on the air with breaking news. After several dramatic and unexpected hours of high courtroom drama, today the plea deal agreement between Hunter Biden and the Department of Justice has just fallen apart.
A routine courtroom hearing, it seemed, ended with a big plea deal in disarray.
Hunter Biden pleading not guilty after his plea deal was put on hold.
Yeah, I remember it, and that amazing judge was like, this makes no sense. It doesn't make sense for the prosecution. Do you know what you're signing up for here? Anyway, they had to go home. They were humiliated, and, well, we all knew what it was about, especially some of my favorite guys in Congress.
The plea deal we saw as it started was garbage.
Hunter Biden is getting a sweetheart deal that no other American who wasn't rich and had the father as the president would ever get, ever.
All right. Now, look, I've never been a prosecutor. I'm not a lawyer, but Joe DeGenova went deep into this thing. He's one of our favorites, former U.S. attorney. And this is like the essence of what happened today is corrupt. And it goes back a long time, but August was important.
What you saw today was the epitome of incompetence and political corruption by a United States attorney, David Weiss, with the consent of the Attorney General of the United States, but not with the consent of a sitting federal judge who saw what was happening before her. David Weiss made a deal with the devil, and the devil caught up with him today and bit him in the fanny. This is going to be very, very difficult for them to unwind. There has to be a real plea bargain, and there has to be a continuing investigation. You can't have both, by the way. It's either you got to go investigate all of this. And remember, they didn't want to investigate anything that got near Joe Biden. And the judge knows that, and she wants no part of it.
So they went into the prosecution of Hunter kicking and screaming, but then it took on new urgency because of the case against Trump. So you got to get this conviction, but it's just for appearances. And back to that U.S. attorney he was talking about, we saw him a moment ago. He's nervous, he's shifty, and he's saying weird stuff.
While there has been much testimony about the defendant's abuse of drugs and alcohol, ultimately, this case was not just about addiction, a disease that haunts families across the United States, including Hunter Biden's family.
All right, that's weird. Prosecutors don't talk like that. They don't talk in sympathetic terms about the person they just convicted and that person's family. This is a signal to the swamp. This is, I don't know what it is, but it's not standard. It's very, very weird. Remember all the other stuff he did. I'll get to that in a moment. Watch this.
This case was about the illegal choices defendant made while in the throes of addiction, his choice to lie on a government form when he bought a gun, and the choice to then possess that gun. It was these choices and the combination of guns and drugs that made his conduct dangerous.
Yeah, in other words, small potatoes, all right? Peanuts. This is a guy who was going all over the world, possibly funneling money to his old man. I mean, how did these people get all that money? Huh? Rich Joe, all the houses, the cars, you name it, they got it. This gun thing, you know, this stuff, by the way, is kind of hard to understand. It's convoluted. Remember, they designed it that way. All the money that came in from Ukraine, not just to Hunter through that phony Burisma job, a lot more money to the family of Joe Biden. Romania, did you know that was on the list too? How much money? $1 million from Romania, kind of random. And of course, China. Man, I mean, this is the stuff that we care about. This is the stuff we want to know. And this is the stuff that potentially goes to the big guy himself. Hey, you know the biggest crime? Well, maybe the most insulting, that silly art scam, pretending that Hunter Biden is some sort of an artist. What did the thing cost? $75,000, that big silly grin on his face. All right, back to that weirdo press conference today with David Weiss, who is doing a great big favor, he thinks, for the Bidens.
No one in this country is above the law. Everyone must be accountable for their actions, even this defendant. However, Hunter Biden should be no more accountable than any other citizen convicted of this same conduct. The prosecution has been and will continue to be committed to this principle.
Okay, that's another odd thing to say after a conviction has been secured. No more accountable than any other citizen. Quite frankly, if he was no more accountable on this dumb thing, you probably wouldn't have charged him. Yep. More on that in a little bit from Alan Dershowitz. But this is all wrong. Are you feeling it? Next, please.
This is a difficult assignment. These folks have been working 7 days a week for the last couple months, litigating a variety of issues in district and appellate courts on two coasts. They have given their heart and soul to this work. They represent the best that public service has to offer. I am incredibly grateful.
Hear that part where they work 7 days a week? Prosecutors, take Hunter Biden out of it for a moment. You want prosecutors? I can't pay a lawyer 7 days a week if I were ever in trouble. Can you? Prosecutors, the money is unlimited. Something's rotten about this whole thing. They're so self-righteous, aren't they? I don't trust them. I don't trust this guy. I don't trust Jack Smith. Somehow they think that, you know, working for the government makes you better than everybody else.
In conclusion, I would like to thank the dedicated public servants of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, with whom my office is conducting this investigation and who work tirelessly every day upholding the rule of law in our country. I'm deeply proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with them. Thank you very much.
Get over yourself. And that goes for Weiss as well. If you were doing your job effectively, you wouldn't have to hide behind the men and women of your department and fellow prosecutors and this and that. There's something really rotten going on here, and we all know it. I mean, checking the wrong box. Hunter Biden was having prostitutes sent to him from the other side of the country. That's something, there's something called the Mann Act, all right? You're not allowed to do that. It's trafficking. It's sex trafficking. You see, not checking the box, and Weiss has already indicated they're not going to ask for any jail time, right? That's what he meant. No more accountable than anybody else in America, you know? But Hunter's happy too. I'm sure he is. This is, in its own way, a sweetheart deal, and he gets what he always wanted. According to Joe Biden in his autobiography, one day he put the question to Hunter. This is Joe talking to Hunter. I put the question to him. So Hunter, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be important. I knew what he meant. And you see, that's Joe's failure right there. I knew what he meant. You don't say that. You say he just wants to be important for importance sake. And Joe didn't straighten him out. And I will say this, he is kind of important. Hey, take it full. Do you have some guy waiting for you to open your car door and just standing there? Watch this. You see these guys, Secret Service? Do they really need a guy to open the door? I think that's a little bit much, don't you? Anyway, going back to the overall picture, I want you to know this. Hunter Biden will get a pardon. And I know that because I study closely Joe's behavior, his father's behavior. You know, the word is, oh, I'm not going to give him a pardon. Actually, he was asked by David Muir, and everybody missed something. Take a look.
Your son Hunter is on trial, and I know that you cannot speak about an ongoing federal prosecution. But let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
One-syllable answers. Exhausted, one-syllable answers. Thinks it makes him sound decisive and in command, right? I already thought about this. No, he's always barely hanging on. It's an illusion. Whenever he answers questions in this manner, he's always wrong, and they're always going to reverse themselves. Always. Check out how definitive he was about defending Taiwan, right? Saying it out loud in violation of the policy we've had for about 70 years or so. Watch.
So unlike Ukraine, to be clear, sir, U.S. forces, U.S. men and women would defend Taiwan in the event of a Chinese invasion.
Yes.
Ooh, so decisive, so in command, and so wrong. And of course, all the officials had to come out and say, oh no, we're not changing our policy, because that would have been a radical departure. Everybody, they had a, what do they call it? Walk it back. They walked it back. The White House had to walk it back. Also, who remembers that crazy balloon from China that flew over the country and Joe didn't do a damn thing about it? Everybody was mad at China. Everybody was mad at Joe. You got to do something. You just let that thing fly over the country. You must have been mad at your big pal, President Xi, right? No.
Have relations now between the U.S. and China taken a big hit,
No.
frankly?
No.
No. Again, it's an act. And he's always wrong. Everybody, their administration knew it. The fake news knew it. Everybody knew that that brought Chinese-American relations to a new catastrophic low. So I hope that puts in context a little bit this whole Hunter does not get a pardon because he will. Finally, somebody's got to send Jill Biden the bill. You heard about this, right? Who does she think she is? Princess Diana? You know, commuting from France to go to this trial. Commuting from France to go to that trial with their cape, with their $9,000 dress. I think she does think she's kind of royalty. And, well, this is not a country that's into royalty. Flying back and forth, commuting between Paris and that trial. That is something else. All right, there's another reason why you shouldn't like this verdict and know that something is wrong. The liberals love it.
This is a really good day for the American system. Our system is different. There is a fairness to it where we really do aspire that nobody is above the law.
Today, and in Donald Trump's case, our justice system is working the way it should.
This is a gun charge. The proof was overwhelming. If you look at this case, what is the big picture here? It's not a drug addict who possessed a gun for 2 weeks. It is that you have a president of the United States who is living embodiment of the rule of law.
Yeah, that's what we all think of when we see Joe Biden, the living embodiment of the rule of law. Career politician who gets mega rich while serving in office. No, that's corrupt, and that's what should be prosecuted. That's what needs to be investigated. All right, so I know some people are celebrating again this verdict. No, they missed the mark. They're doing it to protect this guy. You know who's fantastic on this? The Trump campaign, get to them in a moment, and Alan Dershowitz, the greatest legal mind in America.
I wish he had gotten an acquittal. He didn't deserve to be prosecuted, but neither did Trump. But we live in a different world today where people are prosecuted for crimes, not because of what they did, but because of who they are, in violation of one of the oldest biblical prohibitions. In the Bible, it says the judges do not recognize faces. And here, of course, the prosecutors clearly recognized faces. They would never have prosecuted either Trump or Biden if their names hadn't been Trump and Biden.